Welcome to the Flex Rental Solutions webinar. Today we're going to continue our discussion on structure and availability settings of inventory. And today we're going to be looking at virtual models and virtual packages. So very first, let's just go to create a new inventory item so that we can look at these structure and availability settings. And remember, you can choose the presets just by going to the preset menu here, or as you change the different flags for these different options, then those presets will change. So if I change to virtual item yes, the preset automatically switches to virtual model. And then the virtual package will be if you switch model container to yes. And I'll show you exactly what both of these mean as we look at a few examples of virtual models and virtual packages. But just know that for the item to be virtual, virtual item has to be checked as yes. And if you want it to be a package, then model container has to be checked as yes. So let's just start by looking at a few examples, and I want to start with virtual packages. A virtual package, of course, is just what it sounds like. It's a package that is, the title of the package isn't necessarily the inventory item. It's what makes the package the inventory items. Those are the things that you're going to be sending out on the job. So as an example, I've set up these different speaker packages in my system, and each one of these has different requirements to make up this package. So the item itself, which is, if we look, let's look at this less than 200 speaker package. That's set up as a virtual package. So this is what I'm going to be dragging and dropping onto a quote, but it's going to have contents with the actual inventory models that make up that package. So that's one thing that you'll notice right off the bat, is that if you have model content set as yes, then you will get this contents tab for the speaker package model information. And then you will drag and drop all of the contents of this package into the contents tab. So you can see this is already built, but let's say, for example, if I wanted to add another length of cables, let's do signal cable, not speaker cable. So right now I don't have any 10-foot cables in here, so let's say that I want to add some 10-foot. It actually looks like I don't even have a 10-foot in my system, so let's actually create just an XLR 10-foot. So we'll call it 3-pin XLR 10-foot, and we'll just call it non-serialized. And it's going in our audio signal cable group. And then I also want to make sure that I have some quantity. Because one thing that you're going to notice is that these virtual packages, the quantity that you'll see on the package, or this on-hand quantity number, this is actually made up of the exact contents that are in this package. So it will look at the contents of the package and say, how many of these packages can I build with the contents requirements that are in there? So if we look at the speaker package, you can see that we can build 3 of these packages right now. And my best bet is that it's being restricted by these Mackie 450 speakers. So if we look at the Mackie 450 speaker, you can see that we only have 12 of these available. And it requires 4 to make this speaker package for less than 200 people. So that's why the speaker package says that you can only make 3. Because with 12 available of the 450s, and if it needs 4, that means you can only build 3. So it will take the item that has the least amount of quantity and make up this number for the on-hand availability number of your virtual packages. So for example, if I put in that 3-pin XLR 10-footer that I just created, and let's say that I need 10. Now remember, the highest quantity that I entered for any location on this was 20. So if I refresh and go back to my audio packages, That should have put the number down. I might be doing something wrong there, but it should take, or actually what's happening is because I have multiple and multiple locations, then it's still saying that I could build 3, because technically I have 30 of these available because I have 20 and 10 here. But if I were to lower those numbers, then it would start saying, oh, since you need 3-pin XLR 10-foot to complete this package, if you don't have enough available, then it's going to say that the package has less available. Let's add this to the quote just to see what happens. Anything that you have in the Contents tab is just automatically added to the quote. So again, all of these items that were in the Contents tab automatically get added to the quote when I add the speaker package to the quote. And by default, you'll see that none of the pricing for these individual items are being applied, and you will only apply a pricing to the package itself. So I would go to the speaker package and just say, in US dollars, I charge $300 day rate. Now let's go look at the speaker package for 200 to 500. It's essentially going to have the same contents, but just with different quantities. So you can see it's pretty much the same. You have a mixer, speakers, stands, and cables. But this time, we need 6 of these speakers to complete the package. And so that's why the on-hand quantity is a little bit lower. Because remember, we only have 12 of these speakers in our on-hand inventory right now. So if we need 6, then we can only make up 2 of these packages. Similarly, if we go to the 500 plus speaker package, you can see that we can only make 1 of these. And the reason for that is because we need 8 of these Mackie 450s to make up 1 package. So we have 8 available, that makes up 1, but we don't have another full 8 available after that. We only have 6 more available, or let's see, if it's 8, we only have 4 more available. So we can't make more than 1 of these packages. And if we were to add the speaker package for 500 plus, then it just does the same thing. It will add this as the line item and all of the contents as the child line items. So that's an example, or a couple examples of virtual packages. Let's actually look at 1 or 2 more. So first I want to delete everything that I've added to this quote so far. And there's another way that you could set up a virtual package, and I like to look at it as kind of a hybrid, where you're using both contents, so you're putting things into the Contents tab, but then you're also using suggestions. So let's close these speaker packages, and I'm going to open a Room 255 package that I created. So this might be something for a specific venue that you have. If there's a room in a venue that you know very well and you use that room all the time, you might have a very specific package that you will recommend and put on quotes and say, this is everything that you need for that room. So for contents, I have 2 Mackies, I have a screen package, a projector, a small mixer. That's everything that you absolutely need to make this room work. But then you can also add suggestions. And these might be things that you don't necessarily need for the room to work, but they might be nice to have. Like a 4 quad pack of microphones, or just a dual wireless package if you need it. Maybe some additional monitors if you want some monitors on the sides of the room, or maybe if you need a downstage monitor or something like that. So when you add this to a quote, first it's going to add all of the contents automatically. And so you can see it added the screen package, the projector, and you can see the package itself was its own virtual package and had its own child contents. So that's one thing you can do. You can add packages to packages, and you'll just see that they will add as children of children like that. But in addition to the contents, we also have the suggestions window that popped up, and I could add or not add any of these items if I want. So I'll just check. Let's say I want to add 160, or let's add 2 60-inch monitors, and 1 dual wireless pack. Click accept, and now we have this whole room added. And what you'll notice also is that when I added these suggestions, I added them in a way that they are not included in the price of the package. So I have a $500 day rate for this package contents. These are the things that you absolutely need for the room to happen. But then any of those extra add-on things, I'm charging for. Because they could very well have added 10 of these dual wireless mics, and you don't want to just include that in the 500. You actually want to make money on that, so you wouldn't include that in the price. So that's really the main difference between contents and suggestions. Contents are automatically added, and the price is included in the package price. But then suggestions, you can set them up to not be included in the price. They're not automatically included. And you can also choose how they're added. You'll notice here that in this example, they just added as the next line items. But you could also apply different suggestion types to these suggestions that would say, is it included in the price, yes or no? Is it going to be added as a child, etc. And we'll look at an example of that in just a minute as we look at a couple different examples of these virtual items. So that's just another example of a package, and you can see that I've created this 255 package number 2 as well. And maybe this might be a slightly bigger, and I think it is. I didn't put a pricing on that, but in fact I haven't built this one yet, but maybe you have a package 1 that's just the bare bones screen, projector, and speakers, but maybe the package 2 is a better sound system, a bigger screen package, and things like that, and that would have a higher price. So let's close those and look at a couple more examples. We'll also delete all the line items here. So we've looked at virtual packages so far. Let's look at a virtual model. The main difference between a virtual model and a virtual package is that the model container or the model contents, it's called model container, is not set to yes for a virtual model. What this means is that you don't have the contents tab to work with. So we can't put items into a contents tab that will automatically be added. So really what you can look at a virtual model as is something that you just build with suggestions. So in this example, I have this model called breakout room contains the following. The short name is build a breakout room. So when I see it here in the inventory tree, I just see build a breakout room. But when I add it to a quote, what happens is it's going to pop up that suggestions window, and I can go through and choose any of the suggestions that I've added. But you can see that on the quote, it's called breakout room contains the following, and anything that I add will show underneath that. So it's just a little bit more friendly for the customer as they're reading it. Let's look at how I built this really quick before we go back to the quote. You can see that I've added a whole bunch of different items, and this could be multiple types of speakers, multiple types of mixers, multiple types of projectors, screens, monitors, etc. And you could add literally hundreds of items to this suggestions list so that when your account managers drag and drop this build a breakout room onto a quote, they don't have to go through and open every single folder or go search for every single item. It's just going to pop up in the suggestions window and make it really easy for them to be able to build that breakout room. The other thing that you'll notice is that I've added a variety of suggestion types to these items. We haven't talked too much about suggestion types yet, so let's look at them for just a second. Basically, suggestion types are different rules that you can apply to suggestions that will make those suggestions behave in a certain way when they're added to a quote. So for example, you can see that we have created a suggestion type called screens, and we've applied that to all the different types of screens that we could add in this breakout room package. And what the screen suggestion type does, let's find it right here. We'll double click and you can see that it's not included in the price. So anything that we add that's in the screen suggestion types will not be included in the price of the package. And that's what you'll notice is that I didn't put pricing on this breakout room, build a breakout room, because really the entire thing is going to be based on the price of the items that I add. So that's why the screen suggestion type is not included in the price. It will keep the original price of the actual item. I have the association type as adding as next sibling. So when I choose any of these suggestions that are belonging to the screen suggestion types, then they will add as the next sibling or the next line item and not as a child to the package. And it's also not required. Basically, required just means that you have to choose one of the suggestions or it won't let you close the window. So you can also see I have a suggestion type for projectors, mixers, and speakers. And all of those should do pretty much the same thing as my screen suggestion type. And you can see my mixers are not required, included in the price, no, adds its next sibling. So now we've already added this. We can reopen the suggestions window at any time just by clicking on the cogwheel and then clicking suggestions. The other thing that suggestion types will do is give you this tabbed interface in your suggestions pop-up. So each suggestion type that I added, and remember I had screens, projectors, mixers, and speakers. Each suggestion type that I added gets its own tab on this window. So for example, if you do have hundreds of items in the suggestions tab for the breakout room, build a breakout room, then you could set up just as many or dozens or however many you want suggestion types to apply to those items so that you can go through and have screens, mixers, projectors, speakers, lighting, computers, etc. It just makes the interface a lot easier to navigate. So let's just start choosing. We will choose 2 of these 80-inch monitors. Let's say we're just not going to do a projector screen in this particular room. We'll use a Mackie 12 channel. We're not choosing a projector. And we'll choose a couple of these QSC 12s. Click Accept. And as you can see, they all added as the next line item, not as a child. And none of them were included in the price. They all have their own pricing. So that's just one example of a virtual model. Let me show you another. This is one that quite a few of our customers will use. It's called the linear foot of pipe and drape. Let's look at the settings. You can see that it's set up as a virtual model. Excuse me. So that means it does not have a contents tab. And we're building this linear foot of 18 foot tall pipe and drape solely out of suggestions. So what we did was that we put everything that you need to build pipe and drape into the suggestions tab, but we used different quantities. You don't have to do a 1 or a 2 or a whole number quantity. You could do a decimal or a fractional quantity. So what we did was that we calculated in a way so that it will add the amount that you need for a single linear foot of pipe and drape. And let me show you what this looks like. If we add this to a quote, and let's say I need 50 feet of pipe and drape. It'll pop up the suggestions window, and those fractional quantities have now calculated to say you're going to need at least, these are the bare minimum quantities, you'll need 16 drapes or panels of drape. You're going to need 6 crossbars, 6 bases, and 6 uprights. Of course, you can change any of these quantities. Let's say that you need an opening somewhere in the drape, so you need to add a couple of bases and uprights. Of course, you could do that here. And you'll also see that these were added with suggestion types of package contents included in price. So if we go back to our suggestion types and let's look at that. Package contents included in price is included in price, yes. And this one is adding as a child. So you can see that when I added this, all of its contents or the suggestions that I added as a child. And you'll also see that I'm charging $5 per linear foot of pipe and drape. So that's why all of these were included in the price. It's not charging its own individual item pricing. It's just saying 0 because it's included in the price. And so, of course, I could do anything like if I want to create a custom subtotal and say this is for room 100. And then I go into insert mode, then I could add the linear feet of pipe and drape just for that room. Let's say for that particular room we need 200. I'll just choose all because these are the quantities that I need based on that calculation. Click accept. And it does the same thing except for it adjusts the quantities as needed. So you can set up any variety of virtual packages and virtual models to do exactly what you need it to do. So in the examples we looked at, just as a quick review, we had a strict speaker package where all we were using was the contents tab. So when we add this to a quote, then it will just add these contents and it didn't have any suggestions. We had something of a hybrid where we have specific contents that always have to go out with this package, but then also suggestions that you can add as just kind of a bonus or additional items. And then we had just a strict virtual model that doesn't have any contents, and the entire thing is built with suggestions. And the linear feet of pipe and drape was the same, a virtual model that does not have contents, and you're building strictly with suggestions. We do have a couple more videos on our YouTube page that talk about suggestion types and some of the cool things you can do with suggestion types. So if you want to learn more about that, then check out our YouTube page. We will post this on our YouTube page as well so that you can reference the different ways that we've set this up. And if you want to find the exact quantity calculations that we did for this particular linear foot of pipe and drape, then you can find that video there and copy what we have here. We do recommend you going to our forum and looking at the topic for this particular webinar. We do highly encourage you, if you have some cool virtual packages or models in your system that you are using, to share some of those with some of your fellow customers. If you have any questions about how to set up any of these, then go ahead to our forum. We here at Flex do go on the forum and do answer questions, but a lot of times we have some really great customers who are happy to share some of their knowledge as well. And if you do have any other questions that are more technical in nature, then please email support@flexrentalsolutions.com.